Hello, this is Mad Cat, the angry egalitarian that discusses this and that. Today we're going to be talking about Roosh V and the incident that happened in Montreal. And, whoopsie, I swear that was supposed to be mute. Damn you, Google, for making me look bad. So, and remember, just because I want to see justice for someone doesn't mean that I necessarily support that someone. Now, today is a special episode. I have two friends of mine, two very close friends of mine joining me for the channel. The first one, you know her as Rachel Edwards. She is a honey badger, and you can see her 3 times a week. She also has a popular blog on Tumblr. I know it's weird to say that. Known as the Naughty Nerdess. Rachel, would you like to say a few words?
Well, you know you're popular when people just like send you an anonymous message saying that, oh, by the way, you're terrible. That's how you know you've done your job. Is that people are all the snowflakes are getting triggered every which way. Just that's why I'm there. But thank you for the introduction.
Okay, and then another person, you'll see him here as John, but I actually call him Scruff. I think it's because of the beard or the cat. I'm not really sure. I apologize, Scruff. I don't know your immediate exploits. Would you be willing to say a few words on that?
Help, I'm a cat trapped in a human body.
It's better than a cat trapped in a cat body, I guess.
Meow.
Alright, so we're going to go through some quick articles before we go into a discussion today. Now, I won't have... Scruff has to leave very soon, so we won't get too much time with him, but hopefully we can get some good talking points. Today we are discussing Roosh, or Roosh V. Now, I want to first point out that those within this room don't like Roosh. Now, for me personally, and I'll let my friends here talk about what their feelings on him, I don't like pickup artists. I feel that pickup artists are generally not great people because they use techniques of profiling to manipulate women into sleeping with them. Not all pickup artists are bad, but enough of them give the group a bad name. Profiling is a technique of understanding people. It's used in marketing. It's used in criminology to catch people. Even I myself use it as a writer to write better characters. But I feel that their techniques are manipulative to try to get women to sleep with them. And I've just never had any interest in doing that. So today we're not going to be defending Roosh so much as seeking justice for what has been done to him. So, so let me go ahead and start the screen share, which is being temperamental with me, as always. So, Tiberius did bring up a few good points, and I will say why people tend not to like Roosh. First was an article he had, I Am a Rapist, and all you need to do is read this article and then you find out why feminists hate him. Read the title of the article. But of course he says things like the rapist checklist. If you sleep with a drunk girl, you're a rapist. You're a rapist if you get yourself drunk and have sex with her. Your drunkenness is no excuse. You're a rapist if you nag her for sex because you managed to apply an eventual yes from a weary victim. Doesn't mean it's not rape. You are a rapist. He did a second article as well on how to stop rape, and his basic point on this was that if you make it that if a woman enters into your property, such as your home or your land, she has consented to sex and that she's not allowed to say no from that point forward. And this would prevent sex from happening because any other instance of sex would then be rape. But she would know that entering into your home is her consenting to sex. So if she doesn't want to have sex that night, she doesn't enter into your home. Now, it was mostly written as a gag article, not to be taken too seriously, but it does bring up some interesting talking points. That instead of talking about women, feminists instantly went for, oh, he's a rape apologist, he's a rapist, even though he probably hasn't committed rape anywhere else, although considering some of the feminist definitions of rape, I'm sure they will think that he's a rapist.
Now, Roosh has said some truly disgusting and stupid things before. He has not in any point actually admitted to rape, but he has blamed, he did, in a rather insane, rambling post, blame Judaism for feminism and claimed that feminism was caused by Jewish intellectualism, trying to link, quote, Jewish intellectualism, feminism, and socialism all together. He's not exactly the most stable and rational person, and has also stated that homosexuality is completely a choice, a defense often used by closeted gay men who want to insist that, their attraction, that they can just choose not to be attracted to men, and that they're making that choice.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Scruff. There are other aspects of him that we don't like because he tends to kind of be out there with his opinions. He's also publicly stated that he is anti-feminist and anti-men's rights movement. The anti-feminism doesn't bother me, of course, but it is the anti-men's rights that does, as I feel that as humans, our goal should be for human rights, humanitarianism, men's rights, women's rights, what have you, but he seems to be just in it to get laid. However, he did deal with the situation in Montreal. Now, there was a big campaign, mostly by feminists, to get him pushed out of Canada, to even prevent him from coming to Canada, which he did anyways. Now, from what I understand, he was supposed to give a talk, and he actually lied about where the talk was going to be held because he knew that if he publicly displayed it or posted it, there would be a lot of people there. And at the last minute, he changed the location, gave his talk, and according to sources, it was a fairly successful talk. However, those in Canada were out looking for him, likely to kick his ass. So right now I'm looking at Roosh's website, or his forum itself, and I'm going to be kind of reading through this. You can see the video for yourself where he gets his 3 drinks thrown in his face by 3 different women. A bar where people are saying, kick his ass, and one of his friends actually pushes him away for his safety. And they push all the way to his hotel, but you see a whole mob of people chase after him. I mean, at first they're saying, get out of our bar, but then they're chasing after him this whole time. One of the people there, Jess Levery, pouring my drink on Roosh V's head was the best moment ever. Now, I'm going to read this statement here because he did file a police report but wasn't able to take the police report with him. And this is basically what he said. I was walking with a group of male friends on Prince Arthur Street when I asked 3 women on the sidewalk for advice on which bar to go to. We talked for 5 minutes, then all entered the bar that was in front of us. We had a round of tequila shots. I did not know them beforehand. I talked to one of the girls in the group who gave me the name Jennifer. She complimented my beard and general attractiveness and asked me to come outside for a cigarette. She's approximately 23-year-old, shoulder-length hair, brown eyes, slim build. She had a piercing between her nose. No, she had a piercing between her nose and the farm bulls have. Oh, like the farm bulls have. Okay. I believe that's called a septum. I went outside and sat next to her. She began sexually rubbing her legs against mine. Her skirt was short, and she went back inside, and I found my friends. After 5 minutes, a group of men entered the bar that were friends with the girl. They asked me to come outside to have a drink with them. I went outside, and one of the big men began acting aggressively towards me, asking me for my birth name. He was a tall man with a beard and a ponytail. His English was not very good. I stepped back, and then Jennifer approached me aggressively saying, "Is your name Roosh?" I used this name for my online writings and published literature, but did not confirm it to her verbally. Then suddenly she threw her entire beer at my head. Two more of her female friends threw beers at me. I had to remove my wig because it was soaked with beer. So by this we can state that he was probably under disguise to avoid being found. The group tried to assault me further, but I backed away with my friends. I feared for my safety. As I left the bar, the group followed me, yelling vulgar language. One girl yelled, "Eat my cunt!" You can actually hear that on the video too. We entered a building and they tried to trespass, but we closed the door. I called the police at the time and they took a brief statement, but did not make an arrest. After the incident, a member of the group uploaded the video of the assault on YouTube under the title, "Roosh V gets beer thrown in face." It clearly shows them attacking me without just cause. One member of the group named Jessica Leverly then boasted on Twitter from the account, and you can see it here, that she participated in the assault. She wrote, there was a tweet up above. Her profile states that she is a university student at Concordia. Jessica looks similar to Jennifer, but she is more plump in weight and does not have a piercing. She has brown, well, we don't need that. After looking at her social network account online, I can confirm that she participated in the attack at throwing a beer at me. All through the night, her friends shared my Montreal address on Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit, with the intent to continue their assault against me. I do not know the real name of Jennifer, but she did say that Jessica Lavere and her were best friends forever. Then he goes on to say that they are now in possession of the video and also Jessica's tweets. Only 3 months ago was she charged with a crime for using violence during a student protest. While that case is pending, it looks like that she'll have another charge to face. Now, before I turn it to my panelists here, I'm going to go ahead and read. This is a tweet that he sent out about the girl who doxed him. The woman confessing that she was one of the ones who confronted him and wrote a letter. "Dear Roosh, I am the woman with the sexy legs and the pint of beer so lovingly found itself in your face." You know, they complain when we sexually objectify them, but not when they sexually objectify themselves. "You approached me on the side of the street and asked me to come into a bar with you. What you didn't realize is that I already knew who you were the moment I saw you, and my efforts in confronting you that night were made much easier when you grabbed my waist and brought me into an empty bar. You didn't realize it was every bouncer on St. Laurent that was looking out for you. Did you really think you could get away with what you've done? Did you really think you could advocate raping women, threatening them, and sharing their addresses and personal information online and not pay a price? What you didn't realize is that while you thought you were preying on me, you were fucked the second you asked me my name. What you didn't realize is that I played your game the same way you teach it, and you lost. Roosh V is staying at," and she gave the address. And then one tweet that I'll read that kind of throws the environment of that night. Apparently, Roosh is running around Montreal right now covered in alcohol. I'd like to remind you all that alcohol is flammable. Throw smokes. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Scruff. I know you have to leave soon. Is there anything you want to respond to this?
Not really much I can say at this point. But if you think the reaction to, if you think the feminist reaction to it is disturbing, there's quite a few more mainstream news sites as well as less mainstream news sites. This appears to be the actions against Roosh, the violence appears to be of widespread support. This isn't just a few people acting like dicks. This appears to be the dominant worldview, and I've yet to see a feminist site that said, hold on a second, we shouldn't be violent. Except, ironically, some of the feminist subreddits. And now I have to leave. Goodbye.
Thank you for coming out, Scruff. Rachel, or is there anything you'd like to respond to
Oh
this?
gosh, there's so much, especially when you have a whole bunch of people that are saying things like, "Oh, we live in a rape culture. We live in a rape culture." Well, you couldn't get a mob together like you saw in the video if you lived in a rape culture. You could not. It simply wouldn't fucking happen. You would not be able to get a whole bunch of men white knighting for you, to come against a man that they believe is a rapist. You wouldn't have. I mean, it was like a fucking lynch mob, and just to see it happen in real time it's fascinating. How anyone could think that this was anything more than terrible, than the worst kind of human behavior, is just beyond me. But that's really what's taking place here. This is really the mindset of these feminists. They think to themselves, we live in a rape culture, and they can't see that it's very obvious that they don't. Even Roosh here, I'm not particularly fond of Roosh. I mean, I have my own things about PUAs, and I could probably go into detail about it, but it's not that I think Roosh is a rapist or anything like that. It's just my values don't particularly line up with those of PUAs, and I think they kind of unfairly target men who really just want to make a connection with a woman, but Roosh didn't really do anything wrong overall. He just he was going to give a talk in Montreal, and because he's doing a bit of a talking tour and stuff like that, and I think he should be able to speak where he needs to, where he wants to. I mean, it's completely ridiculous what they did. They pretty much put it out into the sphere. Oh, by the way, Roosh V is going to be in town. Everybody be on the lookout for this scumbag or whatever they want to call him. I'm not going to call him that, no, but because I don't think he's one. But it's just ridiculous. I mean, and then you had this really involved. I mean, I remember watching a video of the protest, and another person got assaulted at the protest that they organized to protest Roosh V being there in Montreal. And there was just a guy who was filming this. I think he might have been one of Roosh's fans. I don't know. But he was filming it, and then this woman just started assaulting this guy. I think she hit him in the head, or at least smacked him. And it was there on video. And this is what happens when you get this kind of animosity in women, and you're able to motivate people to do things with very little actual information, because there's this assumption on their part that someone has done the legwork. So when someone says, this person is a rapist, this person advocates rape, they just spread it like wildfire, that it's totally okay to act in this way.
I want to go ahead and stop you there, Rachel.
Well, I was going to say that anyway.
I do remember that video of the woman who went up against a person who was speaking and slapped him And then she's all cheering, yeah, you know, I slapped him, I did something. And he ended up having to go to the hospital. I mean, he actually got injured, not just from the slap, but he fell down and hit his head. And she's sitting there gloating about how she did it. She didn't even see that she actually hurt the guy. And even after the fact, still gloated. But I want to go to the comments real quick. And I thank everyone for coming. You know, Catrice, I still maintain that it's in everyone's best interest to let assholes speak so we know where they are and how big of an asshole they are. And that's certainly true. We should let people speak for themselves and bury themselves. And yeah, quoting again from Game of Thrones, when you cut out a man's tongue, you're not saying that, you know, you're basically saying that you're afraid of what he will say. And I'm sure one of you can give me the proper quote. I don't have a good memory. But it's basically when you try to prevent someone from speaking, you're basically saying that you're afraid of what they have to say or afraid that other people will hear it. Tiberius Kirk, I'm not sure that this is really assault under the law, is it? I mean, it was a beer mug at his face or humiliating him with a drink in the face, which is common on TV shows. You're perfectly right. This is common in TV shows, but this is actually assault. And I'm looking up Canadian law, and their definition of assault. It says 256, so I don't know under what section that is, but this is their definition of assault. A person commits assault when, without the consent of another person, he applies force intentionally to that other person, directly or indirectly. He attempts or threatens by act or a gesture to apply force to another person if he has or causes that other person to believe on reasonable grounds that he has presented ability to effect his purpose, or while openly wearing or carrying a weapon, or of intimidation thereof, he accosts or impedes another person or begs. This section applies to all forms of assault, including sexual assault with a weapon, threats by a third party, or causing bodily harm or aggravated sexual assault. And this goes on to a greater degree of stuff. Now, one could argue, well, it refers to men in this, and this is just some website I found, so maybe there's better wording of it. So because she's a woman, it doesn't apply to her. But not only did he get beer thrown in his face, he also had a mob of people threaten him. There was a mob on the internet with his address being doxxed, inciting violence, threats, intimidations, and physical assault. Even if having a drink thrown in your face is commonplace, it is still technically assault. Looking at some of the other comments, Catrice does state that it is considered assault in Canada. People don't really seem to like Roosh in this. And, well, I don't like Roosh, so right on. Chris Russ, early on hominid evolution, we had to break up into pair bonds and not like the knuckle walkers. Catrice, even ignoring that alcohol is flammable, if they drank it first, it is considered a biological weapon, so it's spitting on someone. Tiberius Kirk, really? I'm not sure I could find a cop in New York City after a woman throws a drink in my face. He did call the police. He didn't exactly walk around and find the police. This Chris Russ, this allows us to develop a cohesive societies. Fuckers are a threat to social cohesion. Good men everywhere have always been on the lookout for fuckers. Now they think that with the internet they can practice openly. I don't think they can happen easily without opposition from men. Catrice, also a good friend of mine. Rachel, I'd argue that it's not specifically women, it's anyone who has fear of retribution. I'm not going to be listening to that song, Chris Russ, but thank you anyways. Thank you for Tiberius thanking me for clarifying the definition under the law. And Nemesis, waiting to see if any of the 6 months, like the guy in Canada, looking to go to jail because of the feminist. So, I'll turn it back to Rachel.
Yeah. Well, I do want to address that. It isn't just them breeding animosity in women, but that's the thing, is that if you have men who believe that there are women who are in danger, who's really spreading the message around? Who is initially spreading this around? I don't know if it was. It's hard to find out exactly, but we know it's definitely these angry feminists who, through one weird twisted game of telephone, have passed along the idea that Roosh is a rapist and that he is suggesting that rape is totally okay to these people. And it doesn't matter how much I may dislike Roosh, I don't believe that he deserves to have a mob form and assault him and harass him and try and stalk him, because that's really what is taking place here. She doxed him, and these people went out of their way to stalk this man. I mean, it wasn't enough to just, oh, he's in our city, just make sure that you don't, I don't know, decide to have sex with him. They have to go out of their way to take him out, as if it's fucking ridiculous. And how anybody tolerates this is beyond me.
Well, it always comes down to the side of history, and these women feel that they're protecting, the greater good, so they're right to do whatever action they have to do to accomplish that. And it's kind of like the ends justify the means. If he gets thrown out of Canada forever, then inciting violence and doxing, and had they gotten him and beaten him up, would have been perfectly justified. And that is not a society we can live in. We cannot live in a mob justice, a vigilante justice. There's a reason why laws exist. And you know what? You tried to get him prevented from getting into Canada. You couldn't do it. You lost. Have some fucking dignity. Because you know what? And this is what happened with the honey badgers in Canada. And I hate to compare Roosh to the honey badgers, but it is pretty much the same thing, is that instead of giving Roosh the ability to just do his talk, do his thing, and leave, feminists really went out of their way to get him blocked. They really went out of their way to incite violence. They did all of these things, and what you ended up doing was creating the Streisand effect, that it brought more attention to Roosh. He probably got more fans because of this. He got national media attention because of this. And had feminists not done anything at all, he would have come and gone. Much like the honey badgers. Had feminists left the honey badgers alone in Canada, they would have done their thing, they would have left, and then feminists could have snide about how bad the honey badgers were after the fact. But the fact that they left brought more attention to the honey badgers. And this is what feminists don't seem to understand, is that when you do all of this, you end up giving them more sympathy than demonizing them.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. And I think what we always do as men's rights activists, going out to these events or traveling, is that we usually we go there with the knowledge that there's always the potential that someone could cause trouble or something like that. That feminists could decide to form some kind of crazy lynch mob. But I think we always hope that it's just really quiet, because if it's just quiet, we accomplish our goal, everything's fine. Um, and when they do start all this controversy and stuff like that, it does bring about the Streisand effect, and so it's kind of a mixed feeling, knowing that in a way either way you win, but one way is easy and one way is a little more painful and aggravating. Uh, but that's just my perspective on it. I mean, having been in Calgary and everything like that, I know I naively thought to myself, okay, we're going to be able to go here and just do this simple thing without any problems. And I'd heard, oh my gosh, that Canada is really, really feminist and crazy, but I thought, it can't be that bad. I was wrong. But I guess that's just what I'm gonna say about that. You can take this from me, Mad Cat. Take it.
Okay, well, you heard it here first. She forced me to take it. But under the laws, it's not rape. We have a lot of fun with each other, so.
Oh gosh.
So the thing is that I don't support Roosh. I don't support people who manipulate other people to try to get laid. I don't support his worldviews. I don't support how he has no respect for anyone within men's rights. He's, done articles about it. He tends to look at women of, people he can lay. So I have no respect for him, but I do want to see justice being done. And, Tiberius Kirk is pointing out that, it's like, or maybe it was Nemesis Diablos pointing out that, a guy got sent to jail, got arrested for, making a comment on Twitter towards feminists. And these feminists are like, oh, I was scared for my life. And, he now, I don't think the judge has come back yet on that decision. And yet these women can go around and do this kind of shit. And I believe that there are some feminists out there now looking at this. It's like, yeah, maybe we've gone a bit too far in this situation. But this is what happens in a society that caters to women. And then they turn around and say, oh, well, we're in a rape culture because you don't immediately believe us that we were raped. And it's like, you are so fucking off your rocker. You're allowed to assault people. You're allowed to, dox people, ridicule people, intimidate people, threaten with violence, and you get your hand slapped saying, oh, you shouldn't do that. But if a man even tweets at you, he should go to jail. If a man even looks at you, he is raping you. If a man spreads his fucking legs in public transport, he has oppressed you. And this is what society is. Feminists, you need to grow the fuck up, because this is ridiculous. And this is what happens. If it was any other man who faced that, he probably wouldn't have done anything. Roosh is a little bit smart in this, that he is going to press charges. And I hope these women go to fucking jail for their actions, because they deserve it. What they did was unnecessary. He didn't provoke the situation in any way. He was wearing a disguise. He just wanted to go out for a drink. Okay, maybe he wanted to pick up some women. Maybe he wanted to have sex. But you know what? Last time I checked, drinking alcohol and fucking someone is perfectly legal.
Absolutely. And if you want to know who rules over you, just find out who you're not allowed to speak against. And here you are. I mean, these women are upset because Roosh has some opinions about women, about and the sheer mention of these opinions, of him having like a preference for skinnier women, and having the opinions he has. He's not allowed to have these opinions. These opinions are problematic, and so it's totally fine to form protests. Protests are fine. I mean, you're perfectly within your rights, but don't fucking assault people. And these people believe that they're totally justified to try and stalk and incite violence against him because they disagree with his opinions. And I just don't know. It's really fucking surreal because I never thought that I would be sitting here defending Roosh because I don't particularly care for him. I mean, I know that he's done some articles for ABFM and stuff like that, and people say, oh, he's an ally. I'm not really all that sure. I'm pretty sure he's in this for self-promotion and probably doesn't really give a fuck about anything that we really do. But I don't think that any of that is deserving of violence ever. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just what is there to say?
I'm going to take a comment from the chat, and I am reading all of these, but it's popular today, so it's hard for me to get to everything. And Chris Russ seemed to be quoting a song right now. But Kat, well, drinking alcohol and fucking is legal if you're a female, because men are apparently more capable of decision making while unconscious than women are after one drink. I'll also point this out from Eric Martin. Men are men, women are men, and the sheep are nervous. Was there something you wanted to respond to, Cap?
Only in Wales. Only in Wales. Wait, in New Zealand are the sheep all that nervous? Because they should be nervous in those countries. But yeah, what they've done is they've made it difficult for men's consent to be even considered to be as meaningful as a woman's consent. I'm really off today. I'm really not on my game, but
that's all right. But well, I hate that I am defending Roosh V. But you know, if anyone ever receives an injustice, I will be there to defend them. I'll defend their right to justice. I'm not defending Roosh V. I'm defending his lack of justice in this situation. I'll even defend a feminist. If a feminist really gets the raw deal in a situation, I will defend her because I'm an egalitarian. And that's what I'm defending here. That is what I'm fighting for, is the fact that Roosh, basically Roosh was attacked. He was doxxed. He was threatened. You know, he had all of these things happen. And most people, when they hear about this situation, it's like, oh, big deal. I've had a drink thrown in my face. It is a big deal because you shouldn't have had a drink thrown in your face. You shouldn't be threatened at a bar. You shouldn't be chased through the streets. You shouldn't have your personal information displayed on the internet for everyone to see. And the problem is that when you look at this and say, oh, well, what's a big deal? I've had this happen to me. It shouldn't have. It shouldn't be so commonplace that you look at his situation and say, well, you know, it's being a man. No. If it's wrong for one, it's wrong for the other. If it's wrong to do this to women, it's wrong to do for women, to men. Think about Brianna Wu, how she was chased from her home. And I put that in quotes because it was like the next week she was doing an interview in her fucking home. She gets a letter saying, oh, I know where you live. Oh, I've put your information on the internet. And she's run from her home. You know, Anita Sarkeesian, you know, talks about getting threatening emails all the time. And yet, in this situation, because we hate Roosh, he's an awful, awful person, it is okay. We cannot have this in society. It doesn't matter what he's done. I don't care if he was a rapist. I don't care if he murdered someone. He has equal rights under society. And just because he has a motherfucking penis, it doesn't mean he's excluded from those rights. It doesn't mean that women are the only ones who have protection under the law. What it means is that the law is for everyone. And what feminists are trying to do now is legally define men as being less than human. And we cannot have that. And that is one of the things that we fight for in the men's rights movement. That men are equal to women in all facets of life and law. We shouldn't be condoning any part of this at all. Yeah, go ahead and hate Roosh. Think that he's a horrible person for what he has done. But don't then think of him less as being human under the law. Because if everyone is not treated equal under the law, then the law is pointless. Rachel, do you have any follow-up to that?
You pretty much covered most of it. I don't know if I have anything else after that rant. No, but you covered everything pretty much perfectly, and I feel like I should be saying more, but you're doing such a great job. You're kind of on the ball today. You're filled with so much passion about this, and I am too. It's just I shouldn't be surprised that these things happen, and actually I wasn't, and I think the only thing that was surprising is to what degree they were willing to go. They were willing to follow him into another building. I'm pretty sure that that wasn't even the building he was staying at. He just went into a building to flee from the angry mob that was forming, that was just following him. The group of angry people that were just kind of, I mean, if he wasn't able to get to a building, what might have happened? Is the question. Could there have been greater violence enacted against him? And if not then, could it have happened elsewhere? And I don't know. It's just, if it had not been on videotape, if it had not been uploaded to the internet, would anyone have believed him? Is another question. And who would have spoken for him? That is a very good
point right there, Rachel.
Who would have spoken for him in Montreal, in the city of Montreal? Who would have spoken to him, spoken for him? And so, in a way, these angry, crazy fucking feminists ended up helping his case more than hurting it. And he's probably going to be more popular than ever because of what they've done. And you know what? I'm almost glad, because this needs to stop. And every part of the manosphere that's coming out these days is a direct result of this kind of behavior, of this kind of animosity that's being built towards men. So I guess that's all I really have to say on that.
All right, so I'm going to take a few comments from the chat, and we're almost going to be wrapping up here. We've been going on for nearly an hour, so if there's anything left that you want to say, maybe ask me or Rachel some questions or connections to this or anything else that we're about, now is a perfect time to do so. So I won't go too far back. I'll start with Kat here, because she's making some really, really great points. We could argue that a true showcase of justice is when we protect those who hold opinions we don't agree with. If we only protect those we agree with, we're stuck in an echo chamber. And that's a very good point. The law has to protect everyone. And if we only protect those who we happen to agree with, then true justice can never be achieved. Everyone has to be accountable for their actions and not play favoritism to those we happen to like.
Hmm.
And that's why the law has so much controversy anyways, is that we have to aggressively defend people accused of rape and murder to make sure that the justice system is working.
Hmm.
We can't convict people just on opinion alone. We have to use facts and evidence and testimony so that a judge or a jury of peers, can make an evaluation and decide based on those things. Is the justice system perfect? No. But I trust it much more than mob justice. Tyler. Tyson. I can't pronounce your last name. I apologize. Pickup artists are going to undo the fabric of society by misleading our poor ladies. I don't think so. Honestly, pickup artists have existed since caveman times when he's like, oh yeah, I killed a brontosaurus. Want to get laid? You didn't kill a brontosaurus. They don't exist. Uh-huh. Okay, let's get laid. I mean, lying and cheating is part of relationships. Men and women do it whether it's in the bar or actually dating each other. People lie to each other. You're not going to stop that. And pickup artists themselves, they're not going to really unravel fabric of society because they've always existed.
Well, the reason I don't particularly like pickup artists is actually not the whole thing with women. It's actually, I think that there are a lot of, and not all pickup artists are like this, but there's certainly a market where there are some pickup artists who come out as sort of these love gurus, where they tell you that they're going to be able to make you like them, and a lot of it ends up just being a whole bunch of hooey. It's not really going to help these people. It's going to help them be someone that they're not. And so they end up being in a situation where they have to constantly be in a relationship and lie about who they are, and so that they can get a specific woman. And I think that men should probably try and seek somebody who likes them just the way that they are.
Well, and I'll throw a wrench into your statement there, because I was listening to Rebel Media, and I believe it was Gavin who was talking, and he was saying that the problem with modern society is that feminism has kind of changed women into victimizing crybabies who, even at the drop of a hat, is claiming that they were raped. It's actually a much harder market with millennials to even try to find a decent woman to go on a date with and to be completely honest with her, because she has this feminist, warped social justice view of everything. And so, even being a nice guy is probably the most threatening thing you can be for a woman. And, there's nothing wrong with just living a life, getting laid, and not having any serious connections with anyone.
Well, that's fine.
But in that, I am not justifying pickup artists and what they do, but I am understanding why men feel like they have to go through all of this song and dance just to get the attention of a woman to sleep with them, when feminists have made it so much harder to even get normal interactions done. It's hard to just get a relationship nowadays.
Well, I can understand that, but what I'm saying is that there are some men who are doing this in hopes of not just meeting women for hookups, but are really interested in making a deep connection with someone. And if they're looking for that, they're not going to find that here. It's just not going to happen that way. And that's my concern. I mean, if guys want to just have a bunch of meaningless flings, that's that's what they want. More power to them. But if they're looking for something deeper, I don't think that this is really the way to go. Aside from confidence, I mean, good old fashioned confidence, that works for so many women. That should not be understated.
Yeah, but here's the other kicker as well. You're not going to meet your long lost love in a bar somewhere. They're there to get drunk and have a good time and possibly get laid. Men are doing the same thing. It's all just a huge dance of who's going to fuck over who first. You find quality people in many other ways. And that's why people have the bar, they go and do that thing. I'm not a part of that. I've never really been to a bar. I've never picked up a girl from a bar. I go to pubs, to hang out with friends and whatnot, but it's never there to get laid. And I've found plenty of women throughout my life that I've had meaningful relationships with, being part of all sorts of different aspects of society. So, I mean, if you're looking for a true connection with someone, going into a bar is not the way to go. And that's been known for a long time. So if you're going to a bar to find a woman, it's just to get laid. So let's go on with some other comments. Nemesis Diablo, very good point here. If Roosh V was a rapist, then we'd have a place for him called prison. And a judge is the one to say if he is or not, and not for the courts of public opinion to say. Chris Russ, what would you do if you say him bullshit? I guess he means if you see him bullshitting your wife or daughter or sister. Well, you know what? They're free and over 21. And if they happen to go home with a pickup artist, that's on them. That's what the feminists want anyways. They don't want a man coming and saying, well, you can't be with him. If they get suckered into something like that, that's on them. And if that makes me a horrible, horrible man, well, remember two things. One, they're an adult and they can take care of themselves. They don't need me protecting them. And two, that's what the feminists claim they want. So, I think I lost my place here. Let me see if I can get it back. Yeah, there's a lot being said here. A lot of good stuff.
Things are being active right now.
So I'm just skipping through some stuff here, so I apologize.
Yeah, a lot of things about sexual fraud. I mean, to be honest, pickup artists aren't doing in the way of looks and things like that. They're not really doing anything that women haven't been doing for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, ever since you could have makeup, people did have makeup, and women put on makeup, and they cooked their looks to try and get a better mate than their natural looks would give them. So these guys are pretty much just taking care of their appearance like that as well. So I don't know if I can call it sexual fraud when it's it's not something that women haven't been doing for pretty much forever.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's a point made in the chat by Tyson. When are men guilty of sexual fraud? What about women? Women do everything they can to manipulate things.
Yeah.
They require that
your
men
boobs don't look like that.
What's up?
It's like your boobs don't look like that. They're not.
Yeah, push-up bra to make your tits come up higher.
And you're on the heels to pop your butt out and everything like that and make your legs look good. And you're wearing false eyelashes
since the 19th century, and that definitely makes your boobs pop out more.
Yep. And fake nails and just all the little doodads. Everything.
Yeah. Women are the ones who decide how any social interaction goes, including leading to sex. Women ultimately decide whether or not they have sex with someone. The only exception to this is a rapist, but that can be a man or a woman. But in the case of a man against a woman, he's deciding when they have sex. But in almost every other interaction, no woman leaves that decision to a man on whether or not they have sex or not. So you can come down on pickup artists and saying that they're bad for society and all of that, but I think I heard somewhere that a pickup artist said that 90% of the time they fail in getting a woman to sleep with them. But it's a numbers game. The more women you hit on, the greater the chance that you have of scoring with a woman. But most of the time, you're going to get rejected. Women are the ones who really make the ultimate decision on whether or not they're going to sleep with a sleazy guy. So if you're going to hold pickup artists accountable for their deviant ways, then you need to also hold women accountable for their poor choices.
Yeah. And one of the things that you brought up was, it's far more difficult to get women to sleep with you now because they're a lot more social justicey. Why sleep with them at all? I'm just putting that out there. Like, why sleep with a woman like that? Why would you want to if you know that there's a chance that she could accuse you of rape? I think it's probably safer to just learn how to pick up on those red flags in women, and then the moment you see that red flag, just run as fast as you can in the other direction. Make an excuse to go to the bathroom and just get the fuck out of there, because it's not worth it, at least in my opinion.
And there seems to be a little bit of discussion about this, that, women tend to choose men who are rich, tend to choose men who are good looking. An average Joe like me, I'm never going to be picked out of a group of men and it's like, hey, let's just go have sex. And I'm perfectly okay with that because I don't like meaningless sex. I hate one night stands. I know some men that do like one night stands, and that's on them. Kudos for them if they like that sort of thing. But, I forgot the point I was making with this. Women, choose men on superficial levels. Yeah. So how is it that a man who is not good looking and doesn't have a lot of money supposed to cut through all the bullshit with a woman without lying? And to answer your question, Rachel, why go after these women? Well, these women tend to be very hot, and there's a certain status of being able to sleep with a hot woman or being able to regularly sleep with hot women. And women also have it as well, being able to sleep with an attractive man, being able to sleep with a rich man, getting in a relationship with it, being able to say that you were raped by it. These are all badges of honor in society, and men are not the only ones who have them.
Maybe I'm just a little bit weird, but the concept of sleeping with a guy who has like classic, like good looks, like model good looks, has never been on my agenda, nor has been sleeping like with an especially rich guy. I know that sounds bizarre, but that's just not that's not the thing that's on my agenda. That's not the thing that I'm looking for. But I mean, if I was a guy and I had to deal with this crap, I would just say, fuck it. That's just my opinion on the topic. And then if I were to meet some really nice girl who like I became friends with, then I'd see if I could date her. But I mean, in this day and age, guys really need to be a little more guarded and respect themselves and not go after just whatever's thrown their way. And I don't know, I guess that's just my opinion on this, is that they need to be more picky. And maybe if they are more picky, these women will realize that they can't just treat men the way they've been treating them.
Well, Catrice is also making a point that I think is worth discussing, and I think this will be our last talking point. Great conversation in the chat. I've been reading through most of it, and I love this sort of thing. But Kat is making the point about if a man has sex with 50 women, he's woman approved. But if a woman has had sex with 50 guys, then she's just not picky. I don't know. In my experience, men and women don't really care about numbers. I mean, most women I've ever dated didn't really care how many people I slept with. Most guys I've ever talked to didn't really care with how many women I've slept with. Maybe we'd share a story or two, but there was never a conversation like, dude, how many women you've slept with? I don't know, 20, 30. It's like, dude, you're a dog, man. I wish I had your charm, whatever. That doesn't happen. I mean, I don't know where feminists get off on this idea that men are congratulated. Maybe in some frat house somewhere where everyone is drinking, maybe it does, but in life, it doesn't happen. I've never seen a woman ridiculed in public or in private settings for having a lot of sex, nor have I ever seen a man to be congratulated. At best, I've seen it's like, hey, that's my girlfriend. Man, your girlfriend's really hot. Why is she with you? You know, just a little bit of rubbing between guys. You know, that's about all I've ever seen. But this idea that women are marginalized for sleeping with a lot of men, hell, I like a woman who's had that much experience. That would be the only response I'd have to that. It's like, then she must know what she's doing because she's had a lot of sex. Not necessarily true, but that would be my first thought. And I'd rather sleep with a woman who knew what she was doing in sex than a complete virgin who had no clue what she was doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think we like to... Sorry. My first thought, if I think of a guy... Sorry, I'm getting a bit of an echo. But my first thought of a guy who's, like, slept with 50 guys is not, oh my gosh, like... He must be like really, really great with women. It strikes me as somebody who probably, I mean, if they're trying to make a connection with people, either they're not trying to make a connection with people on a deep personal level, or they have a real problem doing that. That's just me.
Now, Tiberius, I have had women ask me in the past that question of how many people I have slept with. And in all honesty, I mean, I've been honest about that. I don't lie about that kind of shit because, you know, I guess if the stereotypical thing was true, I could brag about it a little bit. But, you know, if a woman actually asks you how many people you've slept with and is going to use it to judge you, and it's not just like a general conversation about sex, but it's really like, oh, so if we're going to date, I need to know how many women you've slept with. Oh my God, how could you have slept with so many women? That's not a woman you want to be with anyways. You know, you need to find people who are going to appreciate who you are in the now and not anything that you've done in the past that they could not have controlled or really influenced you in any way. Who you are now is who you are. And a person needs to love you for who you are now, not who they can change you be or anything that you've done in the past. So if a woman ever asks you, and same thing for women, if a man ever asks you how many people you've slept with, that's not a person you want to be with. Because most of my relationships, no one ever asked me that question. Or if they did, it was just in having a conversation about sex, and there was no judging that ever happened in that. So, So I think I'm going to end it here. I thank you everyone for coming out. Tiberius Kirk, good to see you again. Nemesis Diablo, Tyson, Catrice, thank you for coming as well. Rachel, big thank you on this, and also to Scruff. I do enjoy talking to both of you all the time, but this is great that we could do it on a video.
Always a pleasure.
All right, and I have started a Patreon account, so if you like what I'm doing, you want to see more of what I'm doing, go ahead and donate. It's going to be patreon.com/mad_cat. I'll put it in the box below. I forgot to do it for this because I just started it yesterday. But it's nothing like, you know, you have to pay me money so I can do more things. I'm already going to be doing all the things that I'm doing. This is just a nice little tip to give me, a gratuity, or maybe you want to see me down the line do better videos, what have you. So if you have any extra money, definitely go ahead and donate to that. Is there anything you'd like to shill, Rachel?
Well, aside from my regular blog, which is nuttynerdist.tumblr.com, I'm also starting to put writing up, but there's not much there right now, at another Tumblr blog, which is iwriteweirdporn.tumblr.com. iwriteweirdporn.tumblr.com. So
if you ever wanted to know what it would be like for Shrek to have sex with the Clippy on Microsoft Word, check her story out, because I read it, and at first you're like, what? And then you're like, this is interesting. It's well written. And it's hard to be like weirded out by something that's well written. So,
well, I mean, I'm doing that stuff like that in particular for the laughs, but.
And I'm not kidding. She actually wrote a story about Shrek and the
paperclip. Yeah. Because it was the most absurd thing I could think of. So.
Yeah, that'd be the most absurd thing I could ever think of. All right, so that does it for me. Thank you, everyone, for the chat. It's like Disney gone wrong. Oh, damn! That should be a story you should do. Disney gone wrong.
Oh, it's only inevitable.
But anyways, that does it for me. Thank you to everyone for a great show. And I'm going to be doing a couple of shows after this. So if you want to see more discussing various things about men's rights and stupid things feminists say, go ahead and check those out. Until next time, this is Mad Cat signing out.
Hi, everybody.